You're listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. You're listening to music local and sustainable, and I'm your host, Dave Lake. Tonight we are talking with Isaac Smith. Robert Saunders is a very accomplished jazz drummer.
Yeah.
Does he bring that to the rock and roll that you do?
Yeah, of course he does. I mean, just like any of us are influenced by our upbringing to the style of music that we play mostly. It goes into everything. The cool thing about Robert is that I've known him since he was just graduating high school. I'm 30. I think he's like 24, 23. And so I'm the old guy now. But these guys are young. And Robert, I remember him at like Portman's as this young kid trying to make a break in drums and just being in there hanging out all day. And I remember talking to him, and we developed a relationship, and he played for us for a night of worship at church that I was at, and he did all right. I'll be honest, he showed up late, he played the same beat on almost every song, and I'm like, that's not the Robert I know. But he was just nervous, and he was breaking out of this mold of, like, he's either played jazz and reading standards or playing black gospel music, which is an incredible style for drums. There's a lot of chops, there's a lot of time signature changes and key changes and stuff, so you've got to be ready for that, and he was bred for that. So I think those two things combined with his unique love for all styles of music and desire to play so much stuff, he's able to, one, separate from all those styles of music, but at the same time incorporate all those styles into one groove, which gives him a unique sound and a unique touch. And he's, through the years, has developed as an extraordinary musician. He's so talented. He's great. He is my brother, and I'm actually the godfather of his new baby, Zaina. So he's a great dude, and I love him. And he's an incredible musician. He's come far and a long way. And one of my tricks in life is always to surround myself with people that are better than me. And Ethan and Robert and everyone else plays with me are typically way better than I'll ever be. I just fake it till I make it, and they just let it soar. So those guys are great.
Now, do you do much touring?
Not so much. We've never been on a said tour. Like, we're going on tour, and this is the cities we're hitting. But that being said, we have played other cities. I've done more stuff solo. Outside is just easier and cheaper, and the logistics are just, more practical. I would love to go on the road with the guys and be able to pay them. I refuse to ask people to come on the road with me for pennies. I want to treat people well. In this industry, it's very hard, and it's not easy for anybody. So just to go on the road and tour, it's not worth it all the time. So I go to cities. I've been as far as the West Coast and with playing these songs. But yeah, we definitely see ourselves playing and pursuing more towns and in more venues in the future.
In the song Magnolia Bloom, it's about finding a great love. In the song Girl from Afar, it's more about losing, or possibly losing.
Or I don't think that song is necessarily directed as a physical distance as it is a emotional distance. The longing for each other, but you're right next to each other. The space between that just seems so cavernous. I think that can become a common thing in a lot of relationships with marriage or with father and son, whatever it may be. And it's the lack of communication, the lack of expressing the emotion of how you really feel. The idea of, like, I want to hold you, but my pride gets in the way, or I feel like you should say you're sorry kind of thing. Those can get in the way of us just saying, I love you, and this is what I need, or this is what I need from you, or this is what you need from me. And so Girl from Afar is definitely, for me, being reminded of it's easy to create distance between each other, so don't let that happen. Communicate. Yeah.
It's a song about wanting to keep the spark.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's part of the line.
Yeah.
Make sure there's the dawn and to avoid the dark.
Sure, yeah.
What was the inspiration of that song?
I just think time and time again, there's people and situations in life that, from an outsider perspective, you can see people just falling apart and making terrible choices, or simply just not saying anything at all that needs to be said. And so I think the inspiration was just to write a song about a distance in the things that we put ourselves and the people or the things that we love most, and we put a distance. So that was the inspiration behind that, just to write a song about us creating distance and how we can stop that.
Can we hear that?
Sure. Ready. I could feel the warmth of your body from 1,000 miles away, like the furnace that's been burning on and on for days. Oh, it never goes cold. Oh, it never goes cold. Don't let the distance between us come between that spark that gave birth to the longing for one another's heart. Oh, it never goes cold. Oh, it never goes cold. Girl from afar, don't break my heart. 'Cause it's so bad. Girl, don't you dare leave me in the dark. 'Cause I'm holding on to the glorious dawn. We're naked and free. Girl, so shouldn't be locked in your arms. Oh, like legs calmly running down a glass of wine, your heart slowly but surely falls into mine. Oh, it never runs dry. Oh, it never runs dry. I've made a dozen friends to fill that void you've left behind. But when I fall asleep, you're the one that's on my mind. Oh, you never run dry. Oh, you never run dry. Girl from afar.
So how would you characterize your music?
That's the toughest question, I think. For I even hate calling myself a singer-songwriter, because isn't it every band or musician writing songs? So it's kind of counterintuitive to call yourself a singer-songwriter. But from influence of Jason Isbell, which is clearly Americana or country, to Dawes, which is more of a rock with roots of that band sound or the 70s sound. It's really difficult to put me in a genre, but I guess if you had to, it would be more of a indie folk country feel to it. But I'm not limited to that. Clearly, growing up in the church and black gospel, folk and rock and indie aren't really things at all in black gospel music. So on the new record that I have coming out, hopefully by the end of this year, there's still styles and imagings of what we heard on Magnolia Bloom, but I hope to really put a influence of soul into it, more of just a taste of some of the Motown kind of feel, Eric Lindell and a lot of those kind of guys, and just really push the envelope on styling.
What are some of the future projects you have in mind? You mentioned the album.
Yes, Magnolia Blend was a 6-song EP that was written and done within 6 weeks, and then within 2-3 months after that was finally available to the public. But been a little over a year since that release. I don't stop writing, and there's a lot of songs, and there's enough for a whole new album, and I'm just trying to think of ways, and we're in pre-production of that right now, and kind of just deciding where we want to go with it stylistically, because songs are written, parts are written, but I just want to make maybe a little different record, something that's more stands out. And I think we're going to push for folky, indie, country, Motown is kind of where I want to go with this idea. I think Robert fits the bill for that as well, and it should be fun. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. At the end of 2016 we'll have something, so definitely be on the lookout for that.
Do you have any songs from that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I can share one. In any relationship, I think there's always going to be incredible times, and there's going to be the inevitable bad time. This past year, if I'm honest as an artist and honest as a songwriter, my wife and I had some issues that we needed to communicate about and talk about. And through that, now that we're through it, I think writing was a key way for me to express and to work through it. But I think there's a moment in anybody's life that you need to realize who you are, realize your identity, and take any measures necessary to find that out about yourself. If there is any wrongdoing, make it right, apologize. Don't be too prideful of not making mistakes. Like, everyone makes mistakes. And so I wrote this song in the light of messing up as a man and being put to a place where you feel like you don't even deserve the title to be a man, or to be called a husband, or be called something that you once were. And it's waiting for the right of that other person to call you a man again. So whatever the struggle may be, whatever the mistakes that are made, the moral of the story is to own up to it, know your place, and wait for the forgiveness and the grace of the person that you've wronged. And this is called The Right. On down the road, I got lost in the days. With every passing sign, I created my own maze. Now I know what I've become, a boy that stands alone, waiting for the right to be called a man. Now I see the hurt and the pain I caused that day, when I feel the air with the I don't care. Now I know what I've become, a boy that stands alone, waiting for the right to be called a man. fiction is for books, not our adulthood. The damn stories and the lies and the fables have to die. Now I know what I've become, a boy that stands alone, waiting for the right to be called a man. Stops asking how, then I know that I've arrived where our hearts can finally thrive. Waiting for the right has come to life. Now I know I'm in.
So you were saying that you have several songs that you're considering for this album.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you make decisions about the order of the songs on the album, or what songs you're going to make?
I think it just depends on how the songs are picked to begin with, and if it's going to be a story album, like do all the songs kind of flow into each other or not. And I would say this next album will be more like that, like a time span of from the idea of love at first sight to diving into it, and then going through the motion of love, being affected by it in good and bad ways, and then diving into the lack of communication and how that can affect a relationship, to the grace and the mercy side of the rekindling of a relationship. So I think that's where this album is going. And of course, picking the songs, I'm going to put that in kind of in the order of love and how it goes down. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this next album and really making a step up from the previous.
Now, earlier you mentioned that you listen to whole albums and not individual songs.
Yeah.
So are you a believer in the album?
Yeah, I'm a believer in the album. For me personally, I love listening to an album, but unfortunately, I don't think the music industry believes in, quote, the album. So to make money in this world of music, especially if you're not known or famous yet, you can't just have an album that people are just going to buy and pick up. It's all about that single. It's about that one hit or that one song off an album that some other artist loves and wants to buy and make a hit out of that. So the goal always for me is to create good art and have fun doing it and believe in what I'm doing. But I'm not above, some would call it selling yourself out, but I'm not above doing what's necessary to make the means happen. And so if that's, let's sell this to a commercial, let's do it. If that means someone wants to buy my song and tweak it, that's fine. I'm not going to let that get in the way of providing for my family, and because there's always still another song to write. And at least I had fun writing it, and the people that listen to it, and there it is. So I believe in the album, but I just don't think the music industry does so much anymore.
When you're out performing, how do you make the decision about the balance between covers and what covers to do and your original music?
Well, it's an easy one. I think there's a difference between a gig and a show, and I would describe a gig as playing here in Savannah or any other town at a restaurant or a place where you've got to play for 3 to 4 hours. There's not a developed band out there that's playing for 3 hours at a time, unless you're Paul McCartney, who just has a ginormous repertoire and just seems to can't die. And if he ever stopped, he would probably die. So like you go to his concerts, it's 2.5 hours straight of him just being awesome. But yeah, I think the difference would be, if I'm at a gig, we just fill the room. If it's a dance room, we're going to do anywhere from Justin Timberlake to Drake and have fun. But if you're in a room that's more like a chill environment, we're going to pull out Feist, and we're going to pull out some of the slower Lumineer stuff, or John Legend, and fill that out. So, and maybe sneak some of our originals in there if people are listening. But in most gig settings, people don't care. So, we're there to make a buck. But as far as the show goes, we're playing all originals, and occasionally throwing in a cover that is an artist that is inspirational. And typically those are people like Jason Isbell or Dawes or David Ramirez. And so it's a really easy decision for me to say in a real show, we're not doing covers tonight. We have enough songs to pull out a little over an hour of music. So we're good on most fronts, walking into a venue and being able to play original music.
I guess it really depends upon the setting, but at Pachi you did quite a few originals.
Yeah, quite a few. It was a 2-hour set, and it was more of a listening room environment, and I was able to pull off doing mostly original stuff, and with the occasional cover for people. Just that's part of keeping attention of a crowd. It's hard to play in front of a crowd that they don't really know what they're getting into. I think the environment at Pachi could easily be, we're playing covers and people are just talking amongst themselves, still having a great time and a great experience. But I wanted to share and describe and talk about my music and have fun with people, and then play some covers that were more inspirational to me. I don't think I played one song that was a popular song on the radio during that whole 2.5 hours I was there playing. So it's an honor and a privilege and a great feeling to be able to go to a place like that and play originals and be recognized for it, and people seem to enjoy it. So it's a great honor to do things like that.
And you did play a Jason Isbell song.
I did. Cover Me Up. It's one of my favorites off of the Southeastern Song album. Yeah.
That's one actually I got on video. Now, faith has played a very big role in your life.
Yes.
And although the musical aspects of your religious upbringing are really not part of your music now, how does faith play a role in your music in a larger sense?
Yeah, well, I think just faith in general. There was a point in my life where I felt so different from the rest of the world because I believed a certain way and was taught and pushed to believe that. Like, you are separate from the world, and the world is a terrible place, and all this stuff. And I think as we get older, we find faith on our own, and we get rid of our parents' faith and just and find it in ourselves. For me, it was the reality of, hey, people have problems, and people go through stuff, and it's difficult. People are, whether Christian, whether Muslim, whether agnostic or atheist, there's moments in every part of your day where you're going to have to make a decision, some huge, some small, but regardless, there's an outcome there's a decision that you make that will affect the outcome, good or bad. And for me, faith has played a huge role in my everyday life now as a better decision maker. I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm not saying I'm making great decisions, but as long as I keep in mind, for me, the practice of, in my faith, alive and a part of my everyday life, I'm hoping and striving to make good decisions. And I think it's the best we all can do. Trying to be perfect is impossible. Trying to be the person to your left or right is impossible. Trying to live the highlight reel of someone's life is impossible. But attempting to make good decisions is possible. And through writing songs like I write stories, I think it's literally just the idea of there's a moment in time where there's a story of a girl, there's a story of a boy, there's a story of a father and son, whatever it may be, and there's a decision made that's made the outcome of the story good or bad or mediocre, and so that plays a role. My faith plays a role tremendously, I think, with the way I write, because faith is inevitable in my life, in every situation, every outcome. It's part of the decision making of everything. It doesn't have to be this spiritual, religious setting to be considered faith-based, and that is something that I'm really striving to be and to balance in my life, to be less religious and more faithful to the God that I know, and more faithful in how He plays a role in everything I do, from writing to communicating with people, being a good husband, and just overall being a decent person, a decent human being. and that's the life. That's the story.
Well, the interesting comment that you made before about going on the road. You refuse to go on the road and with band members when you have to pay them pennies.
Yeah. I just think I always like to give honor and credit where honor and credit is due, and to bring the caliber of musicians that I want on the road, it's impossible to pay them the wages that they deserve. And it's not their job to make this band successful. It's my name, it's my songs, it's my website, it's the things that I created. I'm not going to drag people along my journey through the hard times of it. I want people to reap the benefits of the things that I plow, the things that I sow. And as we get into those things and I'm able to, go play a wedding or go play a gig that is out of town or close by that is deserving of their pay, and I'm able to pay them a good wage, then 100% they're on board and I can pay them. But it's very hard to ask someone, come on the road or go to do this for free or next to nothing, or we may get paid. There's a possibility that we can make some money on this, but I want people to eat well, I want people to live well, and there's no reason for us to, again, with there's moments in life where we can make decisions, and I choose to make a decision of treating people well and giving them good things. I want their experience on the road with me to be great. We're staying in a nice place, we're staying in a nice person's house, or we're not staying at a Motel 8, we're staying at a Hyatt or whatever, things like that. I want to treat people well and live a life that is good.
Well, I want to thank Isaac Smith for being here tonight. I really appreciate you coming by the studio.
It's great to be here. It's a lovely time, and I'm glad that you're doing this here in Savannah. It's greatly needed, and hopefully it becomes effective sooner than later. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. This has been another edition of Music Local and Sustainable, and I've been your host, Dave Lake. Save this time for another show next week.
Well, I know we ain't headed for the Hall of Fame. Gonna give it what we got, man, that ain't no shame. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, 1, 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, 1.